This is a video on the best way to learn to conjugate future tense verbs in Spanish. This is for regular AR, ER, IR verbs. The first thing you need to recognize is that in the future tense verbs, the words in an AR ending, ER ending, and an IR ending are treated exactly the same. What does that mean? Well, you'll see here that next to the yo form, we've written the word hablar. So we write the entire word in. The same thing next to the to form, we write the entire word hablar in. Next to the el, ella, usted form, you rewrite the entire word hablar. Next to the nosotros, nosotras form, you rewrite the entire word hablar. And lastly, next to the ellos, ellas, ustedes form, you also write hablar. For the ER verbs, you do not treat it any differently from AR verbs in that next to the yo form, you right away rewrite the entire form comer. Next to the to form, you rewrite the entire word comer. Next to the el, ella, usted form, you rewrite the word comer. Next to the nosotros, nosotras form, you rewrite the word comer. And next to the ellos, ellas, ustedes form, once again you write comer. Lastly, for words such as vivir, where you have an IR ending, again, for each of the forms, whether it's yo, tu, él, ella, usted, nosotros, nosotras, or ellos, ellas, ustedes, you simply rewrite the entire word. So you would rewrite vivir in each of these forms the same way that you did for the regular AR and ER verbs. What this is going to do for you, most importantly, is for you to recognize that when you're forming future tense verbs, you are not omitting. You're not omitting the ending, okay? You're going to be adding to this ending. So you're not omitting this ending. You're not omitting this ending here, but you're adding to the ending, okay? You're not omitting it. And the same thing with the IR verbs. You're not taking away the IR ending, you're adding to that ending. So the way that we do that is each of these forms, the other nice thing is that they're all exactly the same. What does that mean? Well, what that means is the following. For the yo form, the ending is E with an accent, so it would become yo hablaré. For the ER form, the same exact thing. You add an E with an accent and it becomes yo comeré. And for the IR endings such as vivir, you also add the E with an accent and it would become viviré. For the to form, you would add AS with an accent over the A, so it would become tú hablarás. For the ER form, the very same thing. You add A and an S accent over the A, and it would become tú comerás. For the IR verbs such as vivir, once again, you would add AS with an accent over the A, and it would be tú vivirás. Then for the él, ella, usted, okay, it would then become él, ella, usted hablará, so A with an accent. The same thing for the ER verb, so it would become él, ella, usted comerá. And for the IR form, such as vivir, once again you add the A with an accent and it becomes él vivirá. Now for the nosotros and nosotras form, it is the only form that does not require an accent. So it would be hablaremos, E-M-O-S. So nosotros hablaremos. For comer, again, E-M-O-S. E-M-O-S, sorry about that. Nosotros comeremos. And then for vivir with the IR, again, E-M-O-S, and it's nosotros, nosotras viviremos. Lastly, for the ellos, ellas, ustedes form, you would add an A with an accent and an N. So it would become ellos, ellas, ustedes hablarán. For the ER verbs, it would be ellos, ellas, ustedes comerán. And for the IR verbs such as vivir, it would be ellos, ellas, ustedes vivirán. So therefore, the very important thing that you need to remember is that for future tense verbs, what you're doing is you're keeping the ending for each of the verbs. So each of the verbs must remain in the infinitive form. And what you're doing is rather than omitting that AR, ER, and IR ending, you're adding to those endings each time. So that leaves you with this set of endings. And the other thing that's important to remember is that it doesn't matter whether it ends in AR, ER, or IR, the endings for all of the forms are exactly the same. And lastly, the other important thing to remember is that the endings all have accents except for the nosotros form. So those are a couple of tricks to try to make the future tense a bit easier for you. And once again, this is only the regular future tense verbs. They are not the irregular future tense verbs. We'll address that at a different time. But very, very important to remember that for future tense verbs, you're simply taking the infinitive and you're adding those endings at the end of them regardless of what they end with. All right, I hope this helps and you get to do some practice on this.